Also joining us this morning from Los Angeles is Ashley Virtues, the Executive Relations Director for the National Conflict Resolution Center. Our focus this morning, Ashley Virtue, has been the political divide. First of all, what is the work of the Conflict Resolution Center? What do you do?
Well, good morning. Yeah, if you can't tell from our name, we actually work day in and day out in conflict resolution. Really, what we focus on is how we can equip people in society to engage with one another with more civility. We really feel that we have forgotten in this country and maybe just in general, that it's okay to disagree with one another. That's something that's a part of a healthy democracy. But that when we do that, there's a way to have those conversations that's civil, that's respectful, and that actually can be really insightful and helpful to democracy.
What do you think is causing people to forget that we are able to have those conversations?
Well, I do think that we are becoming more siloed, whether we want to or not. The way that digital algorithms work, we just end up kind of in our own bubble sometimes. And so what it requires of individuals now in today's times is to actually actively seek out conversations with other people who don't share the same viewpoints that they do. And I say that acknowledging that that's a very difficult thing to do. It's not usually the type of thing you wake up in the morning and think, I want to go out and, seek a fight with somebody who thinks differently than I do. But I think our perspective at the National Conflict Resolution Center is that it doesn't need to be a fight if you're equipped with the right tools, and that actually seeking out those conversations can help educate you, inform you, and make your case stronger, really, when you have those dialogues.
We are here on this Christmas morning talking about the political divide in the U.S. So some practical guidance for people who are going to Christmas dinners or New Year's Eve parties where they're going to encounter a friend or a brother or sister or an uncle that has radically different political views from them, and yet they will share the same space together. What are some of your initial thoughts on that?
Well, the first, I think, is to train your brain to respond to dissent. When we hear something that just we inherently disagree with, our body very naturally goes into fight, flight, or freeze. That's a very natural response. And so oftentimes what that means, especially around maybe a holiday gathering, a holiday table, is that we fight with the people that we're talking to and we go right into battle mode. But what happens when we do that is there's absolutely no active listening happening. Not only are you not able to really hear what the other person is saying, but they're certainly not being able to reciprocate that and hear what you're saying, which is probably really important to hear. So train your brain to know that when you hear something you disagree with, your initial reaction is going to be to maybe respond in a way that escalates the situation. And if you can rather be in the practice of taking a beat, maybe even repeating back what you heard them say, not in a cheesy way, but just, okay, so you're saying this, and this is what I'm understanding. This is why I, kind of think differently than that. It can really change how that conversation goes rather than just immediately clashing over it.
What about if you hear something that you find is offensive or absolutely factually incorrect? How do you, in a polite or civil way, respond to that?
Question. One of the things that we find that entrenches people the most in their views is when they feel attacked or isolated. And so when you hear something that you feel is offensive or is not factual, it is so natural, again, to want to respond to them in a way that really is attacking. And in a sense, that's a good thing, especially if you hear something offensive and you feel like you're maybe even a bystander in a situation, you want to stand up for someone else. However, will you change that person's behavior in the future? Probably not using the attack method. And so addressing it head on is really important. Absolutely doing something about it is important, but doing it through more of a dialogue approach and more of a way that sounds like, Janet, you usually, usually love your jokes. What you just said kind of crossed a line for me. And so I just want to understand more of what you meant by that. I don't think you meant anything, but I just want to understand that more. That sounds a lot different than, Janet, I can't believe you said that. What are you thinking? So again, just approach the conversation, giving individuals that opportunity to engage with you rather than feel shut down, attacked, where again, and the reason you do that, even though it's a little harder, is you don't want individuals to become more entrenched in their position. You want to talk with them. You want to work with them and try to bring to the surface the issues that need to be worked out.
And going into 2020, your thoughts, your ideas for how media organizations, how college campuses can encourage a broader array of views to be presented.
I think part of the solution is to start right now. I think the more we go into 2020, the more heated we are all going to become. And so being able to have some of those conversations now, while yes, things are tense, but we're not in October, there's not a big election pending, is really important. And it's part of training ourselves in that. I think things like town halls, dialogues, where people are encouraged to come together that have different viewpoints and to discuss in a way that's really effectively moderated, neutrally moderated, where individuals can share their viewpoints, be heard, and also really have a facilitator or have the folks in the room be able to acknowledge different viewpoints before moving on to the next one. What we tend to do right now is we hear something we don't like, and maybe we're quiet, and we assume that that means we're being polite, and it's a good start, not interrupting. But usually what we're doing is while the other person's talking, we're just reloading in our head the next thing we want to say. And so we're not actively really hearing them. And so being able to stop and really make sure voices are heard and do that more often so that becomes a normal thing really gives everyone an opportunity to feel like they can express themselves, be heard, and share viewpoints.
Joining us early from Los Angeles this morning, Ashley Virtue, who is the External Relations Director for the National Conflict Resolution Center. Thanks so much.
Thank you.